first, I would like to introduce to you all Shawn Dalgleish. And Shawn is an alumnus of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where he joined the Illinois Alpha chapter. He is passionate about undergraduate leadership and operational excellence and has devoted many years to volunteering with our fraternity, both locally and nationally. Shawn has been on the faculty for the Ruck Leadership Institute since 2008, is a distinguished alumnus, and received the Exemplary Service Award in 2016. He also serves as a cohort facilitator for chapter presidents as well for SIGEP's monthly executive development. Outside of SIGEP, Shawn is a training lead for Ace Metal in Chicago, coming out of retirement last year after 15 years in sales and business development in telecommunications. And speaking of retirement, I mentioned that Shawn has served on the faculty for Ruck Leadership Institute since 2008 and has played an integral role in that program and has impacted the lives of many undergraduates over the years. And Shawn is also retiring from that as well. And we're going to miss Shawn as well, but we thank him for his service there to the Ruck Leadership Institute. Now, without further ado, I want to turn it over to Brother Shawn Dalgleish.
Pat, thank you. Very gracious intro. I appreciate it. I would like our co-facilitator, Nick Sadowsky, to quickly introduce himself, and also, Nick, how we met. Just very quickly on how we met, but go ahead, make your introductions.
I'm Nick, pleased to be here. It's nice to meet everyone. Nice to see y'all's faces. I'm from Hickory, North Carolina with Elon University in North Carolina. So when I was at Elon, or I'm still Elon, but I was Balanced Man Scholarship Chairperson. I was Vice President of Member Development for 2 terms. I led the house renovations for the on-campus house, and I helped revamp our entire Balanced Man program. I met Shawn about a year ago on one of these actual calls. Funny story quickly, when we met, we were going down the line talking about what we expected or what we looked forward to mostly post-COVID. This was in the height of COVID and not much was really going on. And I said, handshakes, hugs, and parties. And he just wanted in that order. And I said, not necessarily, no. But Shawn and I have worked very closely together. We talk about once a week, and he's helped me a lot through my job search progress. And through him, actually, I received a job opportunity and offer to work in Boston post-grad, and I'm going to be doing sales for a cybersecurity firm known as Rapid7. And that's a little bit about me. I'll get into it more as it goes on. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Pat, you're responsible for moving the slides for me in the deck. You ready? Let's go to the design points.
Oh, I'm ready.
And I will see these, correct? As they pop up?
Yes, sir. Just give me one moment here.
All right. So the design points are, they're structured as a build. We're going to build toward an actual deliverable for each and every one of you that you will design. But we'll really start talking about the importance of personal and professional mentors. You can have both and a multiplicity of both. We'll talk about the importance of value alignment when you put the individual people that you're thinking about asking to become a part of your community. What value filter do you put them through? We'll talk about the criticality of a mutually beneficial relationship. We'll talk about the search process, making that scary, scary ask for the first time, setting appropriate expectations for the ask, and then building your balanced community with these mentors, not just in the next year or 2 years, but for the next 4 or 5 decades to come. And then we'll build finally to that ultimate piece, which is the commitment that you're going to make to yourself today, right before you jump into your Zoom breakout sessions. And we'll talk about some takeaways at the very end. So Nick, as we move to the next slide, please, Pat, let's talk about the importance of personal and professional mentors. Quickly talk about how we started talking and what value, if any, and impact the last year has yielded.
I'll say right off the bat, the best thing you can do is make yourself feel uncomfortable. That's where you see the most growth in life. And it's scary at times. You know, Shawn mentioned you making the ask, and you're never going to get something unless you you make that ask. Our relationship, is kind of weird because I feel like I know Shawn very well, but I've never met the guy. So he could be a creeper, but I'm not really sure. Some of my biggest takeaways with our relationship is making the ask, power of networking, focusing on impact, whether that's with your resume, whether you're trying to map your skill sets with your cover letter to a job description, but also giving back once you've learned those lessons, helping others and mentoring others, sharing experiences, and feeling uncomfortable and just growing.
Where do you see this moving past your graduation and your first job out of college?
In terms of our relationship?
Yep. And what we do. What's the design, in your opinion?
I mean, I'm going to continue talking to you probably the rest of my life.
Why? Besides not being billed for it, why?
You're impactful, and you've changed my perspective on how I interact with others, and I want to do the same for other people and the people under me. And having that effect on me shows me the value of our relationship, so I wouldn't see any other reason not to continue it.
And has that opportunity presented itself recently?
Yes. Yeah.
Talk about that.
I've helped several. What?
Real quick.
I'm just saying I've helped several of my friends. One of my buddies actually is looking for a SaaS opportunity in Charlotte. I have a cousin who works in Charlotte with SaaS sales. I connected them too. I've helped a few people with their cover letters and focusing on impact. A lot of people like to get wordy for some reason and explain their experiences, but really you should just start out with the impact that experience had on you and what you did and the results you made.
Perfect, Nick. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move to the next slide where we talk about the importance of personal and professional mentors. I like to hear from the undergraduates. Why should you even design to have personal and professional mentors in your life? And let's headline your responses. Headlines mean you make them very short, almost like a newspaper headline, if you guys remember what a newspaper is. So what are some of your thoughts? What are some of the reasons to have these people not only in your life, but you actively designing for them all the time for all of your life? Go ahead, just shout them out. Paddle capture. Crickets. I don't know if that's one of the answers.
It'll help you build a network.
Why is a network important?
Both professionally as well as personally, it will help you be more experienced.
Okay, you gain experience. Good. What other reasons are there?
Allows you to get your foot in the door.
Usually ahead of others, right? It's a competitive game out there. Other thoughts? How about asking the question a slightly different way? For those of you that already have a mentor in your life, what's the biggest impact they've had to date on you? And again, frame that in a headline. Go.
Outside perspective.
Other than yours. Good. Next.
Career development.
Okay. Next.
Experience and knowledge.
Next. Also, it will give you, as you experience mentorship as a mentee, it'll provide you opportunities to become a mentor in your own right. Usually mentors are older, not always. Usually they're a lot older. So if you currently have only mentors that are age peers, one of the takeaways from tonight will be bust that bubble down and go old, go bald, go no hair, go gray hair, something. All right, let's go to that second slide where we talk about your most important value, the criticality of joining organizations, whether it's a fraternity, whether it's a volunteer organization, whether it's your first job. The criticality of value alignment is key because you will perform at a much higher level if your values are aligned with the values of the organization that you're involved in. It's one of the basic tenets of the RUC program that we teach. But let's flip that around. If you unfortunately don't do your research and find out after the fact that you're already in the organization and your values do not align, it's going to be a rough road. So very quickly, write down somewhere or type what your most important value is right now. I don't need to hear it, but just go ahead and type it. Because culture is a very critical issue that you should be looking at, researching, identifying, constantly validating in all of the areas that you find yourself from an environment standpoint, work, play, whatever. Number 3, mutually beneficial relationship. This can't all be Shawn always, in a sense, providing value to Nick. Nick learned that early on. He opened up, became vulnerable, talked about some things that were not necessarily on the academic professional level, and we just kind of worked it out. I had another, another student from the first virtual ruck, as a thank you after 2 years, sent me some ice cream from his hometown. Also, just general thank yous really help. So find a way to express and lead with gratitude in some way that is your own, that you can put your own personal fingerprints on, because leadership itself, a big part of it is leading with gratitude. Also, it gets the mentor to stick around a little longer. Number 4, the search process. Nick, do you remember your search process? How did you start? And then what did that look like? And then when you finally were done, you had your job offers in plural. What did that process look like? It changed. It morphed from A to alpha to omega, right?
Yeah.
Quickly, what did it look like in the beginning?
To start, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do, but looking back on that now, I wanted to do marketing for a marketing agency or some type of sales. And I thought at that time I knew what I wanted to do. That's probably the most broad thing ever. So, just making that first decision doesn't have to be a permanent decision, just has to be a decision for now.
Good. And then talk about the tool that you developed.
Do what?
Talk about the tool that you developed. Let's amaze these guys.
We talk about my spreadsheet.
It's not a spreadsheet anymore. You turned a spreadsheet into a tool.
Yeah, thing's huge.
High level, quick.
I developed a spreadsheet, basically just logged all of my contacts, my networking history of about 150 contacts I developed, and I started with 5 people. That speaks volumes. Using that now, I wouldn't have been able to help and mentor one of my brothers now get a job or start interviewing for jobs in Charlotte without that contact I had in Charlotte, because I didn't know I had that contact until I logged in, kept track of it. And I use that tool to help him and help others.
Excellent. Thank you. So that search process, guys, let's verbally answer this question. How do you start your search process for someone that would be willing to mentor you on subject A, B, or C? How do you start?
You got to open your mouth.
Ooh, I like that. Next. A lot of mentors are given to you in life. Those aren't necessarily the best ones. The best ones are the ones that you figure out what is it you want, who has those qualities, and you spend the sweat equity to go after them and find them, convince them, and keep them. Retention's critical. So what else?
Noticeable actions.
Okay, good. Next. How about this? Simple things like, who would you start with generically? Give me a name. Who would
Professors.
Okay, good. So they're close. Who else?
Family, friends.
Parents.
Parents. Exactly. Keep going. Who else?
Uncles, cousins, family members.
Exactly. Perfect. Who else? Now, what's the power of starting with, say, dad? You already got dad.
He's going to say yes.
Sorry?
He's going to say yes, presumably.
I love it. I love it. The other thing is that, let's say it's not dad, it might be dad's friend at work. Because just because you want to do A in life doesn't mean you only have to ask people that do A. You ask everyone. And like one of our students said, open your damn mouth. I love it. It's great because you're not just looking for someone that does what you think you want to do as your first step out of college. We're not talking career here. That's too big of a puzzle to put together. Just your first step out of college. Ask everybody you know, hey, do you know somebody that does this? Somebody's going to, or they're going to know someone that might know someone that's got a guy that knows of someone, etc. Because what you want is you want access not only to your mentor, but you want access to their network, because that's where the exponential growth that Nick talked about. He started with 0 and then 5, and 5 became over a couple months 150, and it's still growing. Let's go to 5, making the ask. I know it's scary, but let's lead with the undergraduate who said, open your mouth. That's all you got to do. Now, there's some tweaks to that, but open your mouth, just take the bat off your shoulder and swing the damn bat. That's all we're asking you guys to do. So making that ask, there are things that don't work. Let's go to that next slide. We're a little tight on time. You can read those. I don't have to read them all, but this is the mentor, excuse me, the mentee talking to the mentor. Sounds like an entitled individual, right? So these are things that don't work at all. You don't have to say these things, but if the mentor feels like you're doing them or saying them without actually verbalizing them, it's over. I know it's over for me. I'm done. Let's go to the next slide. Making the ask. What does the ask look like real quickly? Give me some examples, guys.
Are you available to talk at 3 p.m. on Friday?
Good. Excellent. Now, what's missing there?
Flexibility.
That's good. What else?
What you want to talk about?
Exactly. So let's reframe that. Go ahead. Whoever mentioned that first, reframe with those additional options. Go.
Are you free to talk at 3 p.m. on Friday about the SIGEP SLC position?
Good. And where's your flexibility?
Does any other time work at 3 p.m.?
Excellent. Nice. Very, very well done. Let's go to that next slide. What does work? Just want to hit on some things. Here is you always connect before you make an ask. You build a relationship before you make an ask. That's absolutely critical because that's how you design initially, by building trust first. Extend trust first. And the other things that I've seen, unfortunately, in the past, I've been lied to. Didn't know it at the time, but I find out later. Never lie to people that invest in you. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And also make your ask very specific and small. Instead of saying, hey, do you have an hour and a half to talk next Friday? Say, hey, do you have a quick 10 or 15 minutes that we could connect over blah, 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 blah. Or if some other time works. Because if you ask for something very tiny, your hit rate's going to be a lot higher than if you ask for a lot of time. And guess what? I, as a mentor, can change my mind, and 10 minutes could turn into 30. It could turn into 45 or 60. But ask for something small up front. All right, number 6. Setting expectations. These are things that you have to go through in your own mindset that you're going to be willing to do. And also, once you say yes to these, you should set these expectations as a team and talk about these with the person that has agreed to help you out with subject A, B, and C for a certain amount of time. And you guys can review those at your leisure. In case you're wondering what bump your edges means, it means help you get outside the current bubble that you've created for yourself and make a slightly larger bubble. then you bust that bubble and you make a slightly larger one after that. Let's go to setting expectations. Many of the big companies that some of you will work for in your first job after college, they will give you your own mentor. And again, that's nice. It gets you acclimated a little bit better, but I have seen disastrous pairings, and it really has turned off individuals to that firm to the point where, guess what? They bounce. Everybody loses when that happens. You lose time, they lose money. So this opportunity is yours alone to design and execute on. Again, the flexibility, the time frame, setting realistic goals and expectations, respectful of other people's time, especially those that have 3 kids. One of them might be sick. They fly a lot for their job, whatever. Be extremely flexible. And when you make a commitment, meet it. And if you can't meet it, let the individual know that, hey, I'm going to have to miss our meeting today. Is it possible to schedule another time? But do that prior, not when it's like 3 hours later and they're wondering why you didn't show up on the call. Now, for those of you that are still on the call, number 7, I'd like you to close your eyes real quickly and identify someone right now by first name only, which you'll write down or type. One additional mentor that you want that goes through your values filter. We had talked about value alignment early on, and we talked about one particular value that you have or you hold dear. Make sure that the person that you're thinking of that you have not asked yet, and it cannot be an age peer, by the way. We're going to blow that up right now. No age peers. You're going old. Old for you guys might be 5 years. I'm thinking maybe an additional 10 years in the workforce, maybe 20 years in the workforce, right? That's the experience that you want. Now, Nick, he's still got one foot in the undergraduate world, but he's got the other foot and absolutely leaning in hard with his other foot into the professional world. So once you write that down and they've successfully made it through your filter, write down what your specific ask is going to be. Once you've already identified a need, what your specific ask is going to be. Write that down. And then on number 8, by what date, specific date, end of the semester is not a date, by what specific date, by May 15th of 2022, will you make that ask? So this is that build that you were promised that we spoke about early on. And Nick, you've made a number of asks, right? How tough was it in the beginning? And then juxtapose that to the very end, a year later.
It was very daunting, very, very scary. And you do have to just jump in, kind of like I did with jumping in with this. I had no idea what I was doing here. But you know,
Trusted you though, right?
Yeah, no, I did trust you. You know, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when I was still interviewing and still connecting with people, it was fun. I had a blast doing it, just making new contacts, understanding how people work and why people do things they do, and learning as much as I could, being a sponge in a new industry and job world. It was fun.
So scary, frightening, oh hell, this is too much for me, turned into an adventure and fun. How cool is that, right? All right, let's talk about some of your takeaways. Your biggest takeaway, just go ahead and verbalize them. What do you got?
Jump in.
Next.
Open your mouth.
Next.
Make yourself uncomfortable.
Next. I counted 3. That means we have 3 people engaged on the call, Pat. What do you think?
Start small.
Good. There's another one.
Be specific.
Good. What else?
Be flexible.
Good. Anything else?
Swing
Keep
the damn
yourself to
bat.
your deadlines.
Good. I got both of those. Excellent. All
Enjoy
right.
the process.
Good. I'm going to
Reliable.
open up questions that you have for Nick. Any questions that you have for Nick? Because he's your age peer. He's gone through this experience with me for a full year. He's still alive and still has his hair, and none of it, I don't think, has turned gray yet. So go ahead, ask Nick some questions before you bounce into your Zoom breakout calls.
What was your specific need?
At first it was helping my resume. Then it turned into a cover letter. And then it turned into developing my network. Then it turned into connecting with the right people in the specific industry I wanted. And then it came down to an interview. And then it came down to getting the job.
Awesome, thank you.
What would you do different if you went through it again?
Probably nail down the career path I wanted to go through first. Like I would be more specific in terms of my goals and what I wanted early on. Because I made a few asks that weren't specific and they didn't really lead to much because of that.
In times throughout this whole process, when you were facing adversity, how did you overcome that and persevere?
You know, venting to Shawn a little bit, him busting my balls really helped. But you know, studying those failures and kind of learning in search of more knowledge.
One more question, and then we'll go back to Pat, and he can slide you into your breakout rooms.